meeting to order and ask the deputy clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Here.
Councilor Grasso?
Here.
Councilor Long?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Panalakis?
Here.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
Councilor Marconi?
Here.
And Councilor St. Laurent?
Here.
I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Councilor Hines will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by God Bless America.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Now we're down to the proclamation. It's the USS Portsmouth celebrating the 20th anniversary of its commissioning. I put a letter there so you could read all about it. I'll ask the Assistant Mayor to read that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The proclamation, City Council Chambers, City Hall, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Whereas the USS Portsmouth is celebrating its 20th anniversary of its commissioning into service, and whereas this Los Angeles-class nuclear attack submarine has served our nation well since it was commissioned October 1st, 1983 at our Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and whereas the USS Portsmouth tours of duty have included supporting in the rescue operations in Grenada, pioneering new methods of special warfare and testing the Navy's mine avoidance sonar, and whereas the USS Portsmouth may have a home port of San Diego, California, but it remains close to the hearts of Portsmouth citizens as the fourth boat to officially bear the name of our city. Now, therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, join with the City Council and all residents of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in congratulating the USS Portsmouth and its crew of 115 enlisted sailors and 12 officers, and to all of those who have served aboard this proud vessel on the occasion of this important milestone of 20 years of commissioned service, and send our best wishes for many more years of honored duty on behalf of our nation. Given with my hand and seal in the City of Portsmouth this 25th day of July, 2003, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth.
Thank you, Assistant Mayor. Now we're down to the acceptance of the minutes for July 14th,
So moved, Your Honor.
2003.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we're down to the public comment session. We have 4 speakers, and maybe it's some new names down here, so I better tell them what the story is. On our public comment sessions, we allow 3 minutes only. When our city attorney holds up the thank you sign, I have to ask you to sit down, please. When you get up, you can give your name again and your address. Okay? The first one is Mark Ayotte, and he's going to talk about the preambulization of the city.
Mark Ayotte, 9 Garden Street. Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members. I want to capture the attention of those city councilors who may be thinking about voting no on the bill for the perambulation. Can't help but be concerned with what's on your mind. There's only 2 reasons why I could see where anybody would want to vote no for this bill. One is either you know the truth and choose to, as we say, live the lie, or you may be in fear of the truth and choose ignorance of the facts of the matter. Either way, I'd hope that you would think of the residents of the city of Portsmouth and not any personal political agenda. Last time this issue was before the council, I heard from some that we ought to look at 3 sides, not the 4th. I just did a lot line revision with my neighbor, and my surveyor was required to do all sides of both properties. I doubt the planning board would have accepted anything otherwise. Along those same lines, I'm not apt to get my next tax bill from the city and pay only 3/4 of it. And I would hope that everybody would be doing their whole job and not just 3/4 of it for the sake of all of our city and all of our residents. I have with me the official survey of the city of Portsmouth that's on record with the Secretary of State's office in Concord. It's not the same as the one in the planning department. The only way that this original can change in accordance with Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution is by an act of Congress, and that has never happened. New Hampshire law requires the city to perambulate every 7 years. It hasn't been done since 1929. Is there any wonder why there may be a question here? Once again, I ask the city perambulate. I want it done by an independent company, and I'd like to have it done right, and I'd like the residents of this city to know the truth of what their city is and how it exists and how it should be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark. I would like to state here now, I had a beautiful map sent to me from people in England, and the Navy Yard is in Portsmouth. But you're all more than welcome to come up, and I can show it to you. The next speaker is George Pandalakis, and he's going to speak about the boundary too.
Yes, I'm George Panalakis. I live at 92 Coakley Road. I would just like to convey to the council tonight that it's of great importance for us to know where our boundaries are. I think that's very basic to government, and I think all of you should be very much in favor of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judge. David Randall, also on the boundary.
Good evening. David Randall, 99 Boyd Road, Portsmouth. I think it's incumbent on the city and the residents of this city to know exactly what our city is, and the rest of the country to know what our city is, and our neighboring state to know exactly what our city is and our state is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Victor H. Orger. Everybody knows him. He's Mr. Movie Star. He's going to speak on the boundary.
I just want to say I'm very impressed with Portsmouth, and yes, I watch the city council meetings in Dover and I look around. I'm very impressed how you people operate, how nice the seal is, and how nice you keep the place. I'm very, very impressed. I wish Dover would do this, in this professionalism. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the preambulation, and I think it's very important that everybody understands that the town of Portsmouth was incorporated and settled in 1623. May 16, 1653, the same time as Kittery, believe it or not. The town of Portsmouth, being the best river in all the land, the state of Massachusetts, made it a town. 1641, they were all annexed to part of Massachusetts. It was 1653, 1641 through 1679, New Hampshire controlled, Massachusetts controlled New Hampshire. It's very important, not only for the people in Portsmouth, but for the state of New Hampshire, because the town of Portsmouth boundaries are not only the boundaries of Portsmouth, they're the boundaries of the state of New Hampshire, which I'm part of. I've researched this thing for years. I've got all the proof of where the boundaries are. I got all the historical records of the town of Portsmouth. I don't have to go into detail who I gave them to, records of the town. It's very straightforward. When a survey is done based on the town, they have to go back to the original historical records. In 1995, the state of Maine's covered this all up. They surveyed the town of Kittery. They hired the court appointed 3 commissioners to do a detailed survey of the town. They went back to the original records of May 16, 1653, and they stated in their commissioner's report to the court that there was no changes in the boundaries of the town of Kittery between 1653 and 1820 at statehood. Therefore, the boundaries are as they were established in 1653. So when Portsmouth does theirs, what you need is a surveyor who understands that the town boundaries go back to the original records unless something proves that they were changed. So even if the town of Portsmouth has ignored their boundaries and they say it's the middle of the river and you've listed it that way, when you do a survey, it's required to go back to the original founding of the town. When Portsmouth was chartered in 1849, it became a city versus a town. I've got the original charter, and Mr. Sullivan remembers when I went to his office, am I right? And in that charter, it says, the state says the town of Portsmouth shall have control over the entire harbor and river of Piscataqua. And all the records show that all the way through because Mr. Sullivan was nice enough to give me copies of all those records, and I presented them to the state. And it's very straightforward. Your boundaries are your boundaries, and as Mr. Ayard said, they don't change unless they're changed by an act of Congress. Nothing changes it. What the Supreme Court did, they did not change the boundaries. The shipyard is still part of the state of New Hampshire, as all the records indicate. And I mean, I think a survey is going to show all this. And no matter what anybody's done, without Congress changing it, it isn't changed. So, and that's where the survey will determine. I really would appreciate everybody voting for it. A unanimous vote would be nice, and I think just looking at it, people, I think that's the way it's going to go. Because Mark covered it pretty well. You got to do what's right here. It's not just right for you or the citizens of Portsmouth. It's very important to the state of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. That ends our public comment session. We're down to the public hearing. It is an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 2, Section 7, period 1100, speed limits. Buckminster Way, 20 miles per hour. Would you like to speak to this, Alex?
It's a residential neighborhood, very congested with only residents on Buckminster Way, and as other Elwyn Park and the other neighborhoods, this makes it consistent. It's not posted, therefore it's automatically at 30 miles an hour, way too fast with all those kids out there.
Thank you very much. I will proceed to open up the public hearing for first-time people, for, against, or simply to. Do I have anyone that would like to speak on that? Second time around, do I have any speakers that would like to speak to it? Third and final time, before I declare the public hearing closed, do I have any speakers? Closed. Now we're down to the approval of grants and donations. The Assistant Mayor, will you take the first one?
Yes, move to accept $5,000 grant awarded to the City of Portsmouth from the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts.
Second. All in favor?
Question.
Hold on a minute. Yes, Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, in the communication from the director, Rebecca Lawrence, she did indicate that they would like to see a letter sent to the United States Congressional Delegation thanking them, and also to the governor and the executive council. So I hope this is done.
Yeah, we're going to handle it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Move to question, Your Honor.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. The next one is consideration of resolutions and ordinances. The second reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 11, Section 7, period 1100, speed limits, Buckminster Way, 20 miles per hour. I'm going to ask Councilor St. Laurent to make the motion. I'm going to start doing it a little bit different so you all have a chance.
Thank you, Your Honor. No surprises, Your Honor?
No.
Okay, thank you. Move to pass second reading of Chapter 7, Section 7, 1100, speed limits as submitted, and schedule a third and final reading at the August 18th City Council meeting.
Second.
Oh, very good. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That takes care of that. We're down to presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. The first one is a letter from Attorney Jason Sullivan requesting the, I guess I can't even pronounce it, reconveyance, I knew that, of a tract of land located at 234 Littleworth Road in Madbury, New Hampshire, for his clients. Councilor Marconi, will you make your motion on that?
Do you want me to read the whole thing, Your Honor?
No, you can make the motion, and then if the councilors want to know a little bit more about it, you can.
Sorry, I guess I was reading something else.
That's all right.
Request for reconveyance of a tract of land located at 234 Littleworth Road, Madbury, New Hampshire. Attaches a list that I'm sorry. I recommend that this matter be referred to the planning board with a report back to the city council.
Second.
Okay, very good. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Evelyn. I didn't mean to do that, but nobody gets a chance, you know. I can't.
No, I noticed.
So I'm letting everybody say something. Okay, now we're to the next one. It's a letter from Jenny McBride, Piscataqua Maritime Commission, inviting the city council to attend the welcoming ceremony on August 7th, 2003 at 5 p.m. at the New Hampshire State Port Authority Pier, welcoming the Jenny Johnson Tall Ship. Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, I appreciate the invitation, and I certainly hope many of our councilors will be there. And so I move to accept the communication and place it on file, hoping the council will participate in the welcoming ceremony.
Very good. Discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? A letter from Kelly Ordway, American Heart Association, requesting the city council to attend the Seacoast Walk on Saturday, October 4th, at Wallace Sands Beach in Rye, New Hampshire. Councilor Vanderlocken.
Yes, we'd just like to thank her for the letter and move to place it on file.
Second.
All right. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we are down to the city manager, and John has 10 items that require action. John?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The first item is a report back from the planning board regarding a request to erect a fence on city-owned land located off of Cutts Avenue, 1 Forest Street. And as you recall, there was a request from Tara and Ken Olson dated May 27th, which we referred to the planning board for a report back. I will go through some of the report back that was given by the planning board. Basically, the planning board considered the city council's referral of July 17th and acted to recommend to you that this request should be denied. In making this recommendation, the following issues were identified. 1, due to liability issues, private fences should be located on owner's property. 2, Cutts Avenue is a non-conforming right-of-way. 3, the planning board and its technical advisory committee are reviewing applications for a residential subdivision on a lot located across Cutts Avenue from the site. Being proposed is the establishment of a city street that intersects Cutts Avenue. Accordingly, Cutts Avenue right-of-way should be preserved for future needs. 4, the granting of such request would establish a precedent allowing for private use of public property. 5, similar requests of the same sort have not been favorably recommended. 6, the Public Works Department recommended denial of this request based on the right-of-way issues.
Thank you. Assistant Mayor, would you like to make the motion?
Move to accept the planning board's recommendation regarding the request to erect a fence on city-owned land off Cutts Avenue, 1 Forest Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next one deals with the report back from the planning board regarding a rezoning of property identified as Coast Pontiac Cadillac, and that's off of US 1 Bypass North and Cottage Street. And as you may recall, on June 16th, the City Council referred the aforementioned issue to the planning board for a report back. With regards to this referral, the applicant has withdrawn their request, and I've attached a copy of the letter dated July 14th, 2003 from Attorney Blanchard. The Planning Board has incorporated this request as part of their ongoing master plan process where it can be considered along with other similar requests. Basically what's happened, Your Honor, is many requests are coming in for rezoning, and the Planning Department, along with the Planning Board, has asked them to incorporate this in the master plan so that we do it all at once. So the suggested motion is to place this matter on file.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes, Your Honor. I move that we approve of the Planning Board's recommendation and that this request be placed on file with the rezoning request being considered as part of the master plan process.
Second.
Very good. Yes, Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, naturally I'm going to approve of the motion, but, the master plan is required to be put together and presented to the Planning Department 1 year from now. And this issue out there, this road coming out onto Cottage, is a very, very dangerous situation. This has been ongoing for at least 4 to 5 years. I wish there was a way to temporarily relieve the serious hazardous problem out there. I'd like to suggest that this go before the parking committee for maybe widening the road and maybe right-hand turn only, but it is a very dangerous situation, especially when they come off Route 1 bypass and make that right-hand turn up Cottage. And to go for a whole year, I think is a long time to wait. And this is just a suggestion only.
All right, it's not an amendment?
No.
No, okay. Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor? Did you want that motion read again, Evelyn?
No.
Yeah. No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a report back from the Planning Board regarding a proposed amendment to the city zoning ordinance regarding city-owned property located in the vicinity of the Harrison Well, formerly the Marvin property at 497 Sherburne Road. What I'll do is I'll try to condense my report for you. Basically, the city purchased 5.4 acres from the Marvins, which includes a farmhouse barn and substantial amount of vegetated open space near the Harrison Well. City Council did this so that we would be able to reactivate the Harrison Well, which would have a substantial amount of water provided to our system. As part of this purchase, it was determined that we would subdivide off the house, the barn, to sell through auction sealed bid, and that will take place in September. There was a subdivision that was taken place by the Planning Board, which subdivided this property off and gave approximately 1 acre of land for the house and barn. There remains 4.4 acres that is going to be used as a protective radius around the well of the Harrison pump. One of the things that we need to do is we need to rezone that land, that 4.4 acres, as municipal property. In a municipal zone. The property that we subdivided off is appropriate to the residential use, so it does not have to be rezoned. This proposed amendments would actually create a mechanism whereby if the city acquires land, that it would automatically become municipally zoned. So that's what we're requesting, and what I'm asking for is that I be able to bring this back for first reading for the August 18th meeting.
Councilor Lowndes?
Move to authorize the manager to bring back for the first reading of the August 18th meeting proposed amendments to the 95 zoning map and the 95 zoning ordinance as recommended by the Planning Board on July 17th.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question.
Assistant Mayor?
In this ordinance, what happens if you sell a piece of municipal property? Does that automatically rezone? Or is it only one-way street here?
Right now, it would have to be. I would have to defer to the city attorney, but I believe that you'd want to take a look at that, depending on where the property is.
You would probably have to expect to rezone any parcel that you wanted to sell.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor St. Laurent?
Hi, thank you, Your Honor. Question to the city manager, in looking at this map, the particular piece of property that's going to be sold, I noticed that there's going to be land between that piece of property and other private property that the city is going to own. Why don't we connect the properties instead of, does the city need that corridor between the two pieces of land?
Which one are you referring to? You're referring
If
to
you're
the...
looking at this map here.
It needs it for right-of-way, for its trucks and the like to go through. Is that what you're talking
Yes,
about?
that's what
Yeah.
I'm questioning, what that,
To
why the
access-
city
to access the
to
well,
back
yeah,
of the property. Okay, just, thank you, Your Honor.
Any other discussion? You all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a tabled item from the July 14th City Council meeting. As you recall, at your July 14th City Council meeting, there was a request for an A-frame sign license from Kevin Wright of Cobble Hill Antiques. At that time, the City Council was concerned that the location of the A-frame sign was not in front of Mr. Wright's business. As a result of the action of the City Council, I asked Jason Page to contact Mr. Wright about moving his A-frame sign request to be immediately outside his store. Attached a memorandum from Jason Page indicating that Mr. Wright would amend his application to change the location of his A-frame sign. Therefore, it would be my recommendation to remove this item from the table and approve this A-frame sign license as amended.
Councilor Hines, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I believe we need to have a motion to remove it from the table.
Oh, all right.
This table.
Very good.
I move that we take this item from the table.
Very
Second.
good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All set, John. You can make your motion now.
We move now to the city manager with power, the Cobble Hill Antique request for an A-frame license as amended.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? Everybody's happy? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Your Honor, the next item deals with a request for application of easement deed, and I'll refer this matter to the city attorney. It's basically a required item legally.
The council has seen many of these similar deeds in recent years. This is a requirement of the planning board. It relates to the construction of traffic signals at the corner of Route 1 and Elton Road. The planning board has not only approved the acceptance of deed, they required it. However, only the city council has the final authority to act on the name of the city and accepting an interest in real estate. And secondly, unless the city council accepts the deed so that it becomes part of council records, the deeds actually become very difficult to find later on. But if they go into council records, the clerk keeps them. So for those two reasons, it's certainly my recommendation that the council accept the deed.
Bill St. Laurent,
Yes.
will you make the motion?
Thank you. We move to accept the city attorney and city manager recommendation regarding the easement D, traffic signal Elton Road and Route 1.
Second. Okay, discussion, Councilor Grasso.
Yes, I wanted to ask which side of Lafayette Road, is it the Heavily Hill side or the Elwyn Road side?
Elwyn Road.
Elwyn Road.
Elton Road, yeah.
On the right-hand side.
On the right?
Sits right down the corner.
The improvements to that intersection.
It would be off of the Elwyn Stone property?
Off the gas station property. Would be.
No, on that side.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All ready for the vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item is request for approval of poll license agreements, and there are 3 poll license agreements which are self-explanatory.
You done?
Yeah, these petitions have been reviewed and approved by the Public Works
Okay.
Department and pose no impact to the city's infrastructure.
All right. Councilor Marconi?
Move to approve the request from PSNH for poll license agreement 63-397, 63-398, 63-399 as recommended by the Public Works Department.
Second. Very good. Discussion? Everybody happy with the poll? Joanne?
Just a question, are there any duplicate poles there that need to come down? I remember Kevin.
Not to my knowledge, but I'll check.
Would
Okay.
you? Thank you very much.
We'll have to start dragging around, doing his job. Very good. You are, yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Yeah, there are certain poles. I visited all these 3 sites. There are certain poles that are still standing. They haven't completely changed over the service. Maybe public service has changed over their 3 lines, but the telephone, cable, and fire alarm has not been changed over. So I just hope these secondary poles do have a changeover and they're removed, because I can name you the places where these poles are still standing.
Harold, it would be nice if you made a list and gave it to John,
Appreciate it.
seeing you travel around town.
Yes. I'm getting paid for this.
I don't get paid for that, John. Did you hear that?
Mileage, can I put
Buy him a
mileage?
cup of coffee.
A cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Consultancy.
Any other discussion? You ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a request to purchase land on the corner of Ranger Way and Raleigh Way in Atlantic Heights. The attorney, Bernie Peelich, is here this evening, representing his client, if you choose to ask him any questions regarding this. But to make a long story short, in 1997, Attorney Peelich worked with then Assistant City Attorney Sharon Cuddy regarding the acquisition of city-owned land located on the corner of Ranger Way and Raleigh Way in Atlantic Heights. And I've provided you with a map and an aerial map to show you the affected properties. The properties were to be purchased by Avanti Development, which owns Lot 26A. Basically, what they wanted to do is to do some landscaping and add some parking. And the City Council did approve this on October 6, 1997, but we never came to an agreed-upon price. Avanti had come in with $2,600 recommendation, and at that time the city assessor came in at $8,700, and Avanti withdrew their request. A lot of time has passed, and they reactivated their request, and the new assessed value on that property, which was just reassessed last year, is $5,000. And I would recommend that 3 conditions be placed on Avanti Development if the City Council reauthorizes the disposal of this land, as it had in 1997. The first would be that the purchase price would be $5,000. There would be 3 specific conditions. 1, the property be consolidated by deed with the adjacent property of Avanti Development into one lot, with the stipulation that the area being conveyed by the city's Avanti would not be used for buildings, but rather parking and landscaping. And as I've noted in my comments, that any parking lot would require site plan approval before the planning board. 2, that approval be secured by the planning board regarding the consolidation of lots required by RSA 674-39A. And 3, that the city retain an easement over the parcel conveyed for municipal utility purposes, either current or needed in the future. And as I've indicated, Attorney Peelich is here, as well as the city attorney who has worked on this matter.
Councilor Whitehouse, will you make the motion first?
Sure. Yes, I move to the city manager to dispose of alley number 1, alleyway number 2, lot number 7, in accordance with stipulations outlined by the city manager report.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes.
Now, are these questions so Bernie should come down?
Your Honor, I'm going to offer an amendment to add on to the 3 provisions. Okay. And if he wants to answer, he can.
Bernie, why don't you just come down to the mic so people at home can hear you?
Reading the city manager's report, I was quite surprised that there was such a delay. Going back to '97, there was an approval, but yet it was never enacted. So in order
if I might, Councilor, Avanti withdrew their request.
Oh, okay. So this won't happen again. You know, I'd like to offer a number 4, and this amendment would state that all transactions and provisions must take place within 60 days of the council approval. In other words, this would expedite this type of movement. So I'll repeat my amendment once more. Number 4 would be all transactions and provisions must take place within 60 days of the council's approval.
Your Honor, well, first, let me just say that we're getting $2,500 more than we would have if I agreed to their price.
Yep.
That's why they withdrew it. We disagreed on price. Okay. And until they withdrew their offer. Now they agree.
Now they agree.
Yeah.
We need the money.
Yes. Your Honor, I'd like to point out a problem with that condition, which is that if it doesn't happen within 60 days, then once again, this transaction will be off the table, and we'll have to start over again from the beginning.
Without any... Okay. Well,
Excuse me, Your Honor, was there any second to the amendment?
Yes, there was.
Yep.
Oh, who seconded it?
Who seconded it?
Nobody.
I didn't. All right. Second it, Evie.
No, I'm not going to second it.
Okay. Oh,
This
all
is
right.
another submarine.
Just second it. It doesn't need to be seconded.
Well, it does.
yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it does.
I'll withdraw my,
Just second it,
Your Honor.
please.
Second it.
Bill? Okay.
then,
Holy gee.
speaking on my amendment, I'd
All
like
right.
to have Attorney Pelich comment on my amendment. Would you please?
Okay, Bernie?
I think that the 60 days is probably a little quick. I don't know how busy Bob Sullivan is, but my clients are certainly interested and will purchase the property for that price. That's not an issue. It's going to happen this time because we have agreed upon a price. I would have no problem with that being 120 days, or I don't know about 90, but part of the problem is that they may have to go to the planning board, as the city manager indicated, to get approval for parking on parts of that land. And although I don't anticipate that it's going to be a problem, I don't know if they can accomplish that in 60. I don't know if they can accomplish it in 90, but 120 I would feel a lot more comfortable with. Other than that, I don't have a problem with it.
I still like to have my amendment stand, but I will change the time limit, and I will change it from 60 to 120 days.
Okay, Bob, how is that with you?
I just,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, can I speak to the motion?
Yes.
Can I speak to the motion?
Sure.
amendment.
I am talking about the amendment to the motion, is I'm not going to vote in favor of it. If this is going to go to if it's going to end up with traffic and safety, I can tell that. We're creating a nightmare here. We've got it, it's clean, leave it alone. It'll go through the appropriate regulatory boards. It may go to the planning board, it may have to go to the Board of Adjustment, it'll go to traffic and safety. Let the process go through.
Okay. Now, you got this from two legal people. Bill had his up first, and then Laura.
Okay, I'm not speaking on the amendment, Your Honor. I want to speak on the original motion.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask the question of the city manager. Did you say that it fell through the last time because you did not come to an agreement?
We just did not come to agreement on price, and they chose to withdraw. Is that correct?
Right.
So they've
That's
agreed
correct.
now.
There were a couple of things that happened, and I don't want to belabor this, but one of the things was the price, and the other thing was that there was a issue with regard to title of the property because the city actually thought the state owned it, and the state finally discovered that they had conveyed it to the city, and that's all been rectified now.
Okay. We're back to the amendment now. A vote on the amendment. Has anyone else got something to say?
Could we have
Do you want it read, Evie? Would you read the amendment?
Amended motion is that all transactions and provisions must occur within 120 days of the council's approval.
Could we have a roll call, Your Honor?
Certainly.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
No.
Councilor Grasso?
No.
Councilor Lau?
No.
Councilor Hines?
No.
Councilor Panalakis?
No.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes.
Councilor Marconi?
No.
Councilor St. Laurent?
No.
And Mayor Sorrell?
No.
Motion fails.
Right up there.
Yes. Now we're back. Who made the motion, the first motion?
That was
Harold.
Harold amended his own
Karen,
motion.
you amended your own motion, so where do we go from here now?
The main motion.
All right, main motion, do you want to give it, or?
I already gave it.
Oh, you gave it, but amended. All right, it's on the table. Bill, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I got my second, so we're all ready to go.
Thank you. Two questions. Obviously, there's a house next to this, and has the property abuts this other piece of property that I see from this picture. Were they offered? Is that something that was offered to them too? I mean, I'm not sure how that works. If you look at the picture.
It has not recently been offered to anyone else, whether Sharon Cuddy had had some discussion with the butter.
I guess
back in 97, I don't know, perhaps Attorney Peelich knows.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, if I had lived in that house and I didn't know, maybe I would have liked to have purchased a part of that property. So I don't know, we don't want to get into that where they're coming back and saying, you know, well, I would have liked to have purchased that property, and I'm a butter to that property. So. But they must have gotten a butter's notice, I would assume, right, in the situation like this?
Would they have gotten a butter's notice, Bob?
No, Your Honor. If some individual comes and requests to buy land from the city, it is not really the city's normal practice to set that person against the neighbors by seeking a higher bid or whatever.
Okay. Assistant Mayor Hanson?
We were actually out there, Bill, and it makes no sense for anyone else other than the property owner that's buying it to buy it. This access to the back of their property, and they need to have the parking. So that house, it doesn't make sense. If it was your house, it would do you no good.
It would carry that property to the street.
Yeah, but right up to this guy's back door, and you couldn't then get into the back door. It's an alleyway that the city owns now.
And that's my other question, Your Honor, on the why did we keep this piece of property? What was the use of this property originally?
I can answer. Okay. What happened was, and this is a very frequent happening, is when the high-level bridge was constructed, the United States government conducted a massive land taking, all up and down the corridor, alongside 95. After the bridge was built, and the parts of the land that were not needed or not used for the construction of the bridge were reconveyed to the city in one kind of a blanket deed, which said something like, the United States government gives any land that it didn't use back to the city. The deed did not describe that land in any specificity. And as a result of that, this situation comes up every few years where it turns out there's a little piece of land we perhaps didn't know we owned. Federal government gave it to us by that deed, and this is one of those pieces of land.
I guess why I'm asking that is there's not a storm drain running underneath that property. So
well, one of the conditions of the conveyance will be that if the city either has a storm drain or needs a storm drain, we retain the right to put those.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Brad.
Yeah, I think Bill raises a good point, but my guess is that if the owner of that lot where the house is located were interested at all in purchasing that property, they must know who owns it and they know where to find us. But the other, I noticed the assessment went down from 8,700 to 5,000.
The assessment didn't go down.
No?
No, that's what the then assessor had put on as a price of that land. That
He valued it. Okay. And then one other, if I could, Your Honor, the red line on the aerial photo, I assume, do I assume that the city owns to the red line? That is, if the road needed to be widened, there is some additional footage there, if necessary, that the city owns the fee to?
Right, the red lines represent what we believe to be the lot lines of the lot.
All right. Yeah, but this makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
You all ready for the vote? No other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with the request to dispose of property located at 98 Brewster Street. As the City Council may recall, the city owns a very small piece of property at 98 Brewster Street. It was a damaged residential building on the site was demolished and the property stands vacant. On February 5th, 2001, the City Council authorized me to dispose of 98 Brewster Street through a sealed bid with a minimum bid price of $75,000. And I've attached the minutes of the City Council meeting from that date. There was very little interest in the property. A purchase and sale agreement was eventually entered into with a potential buyer for the amount of $75,000. Closing was contingent on the buyer meeting various conditions. Unfortunately, the buyer was unable to fulfill the conditions, and the deal is now moved. The city has received an unsolicited offer from Mr. Stephen Bailey to purchase the property for $75,000. The City Council wants to proceed with the sale of the property to Mr. Bailey. The City Attorney suggests that I be granted the authority to negotiate and execute a purchase and sale agreement with Mr. Bailey to dispose of 98 Brewster Street. It's unlikely that a rebid of the property will generate any additional offers, and the city may lose the opportunity to sell to this buyer. And I just want to remind the city council that this is part of a settlement, and the $75,000, the minimum bid, is based on what we had to lay out as a city to settle this. So we would actually, if we accepted this, we'd break even on the whole deal.
Councilor Pandelakis, would you like to give the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Move to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a purchase and sale agreement for disposing of property located at 98 Brewster Street, as recommended by the city attorney.
Second.
Discussion. Brett?
Is this a buildable lot?
Yes, it is.
All right.
It's got all its approvals.
All right, and that price seems pretty good for a buildable lot.
It's kind of, it's a very small one. They have to stay within the footprint of the old building.
I see. And that's part of an arrangement, an agreement with the city?
Right.
Okay. All right, well, if the manager thinks that this is about as much as we're going to get, I will defer to his good judgment.
Then if I can miss one along, Brad. Councilor Grasso?
Yes, Your Honor, just an inquiry. Where will the $75,000 be deposited?
Sewer account.
Sewer account. Good, thank you.
And that's a good place for it, too.
Well, that's where it came from originally.
I was down there with my boots on one night. Did you have something to say, Bill?
No, I'm all set, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. We all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with approval, giving me approval to execute a municipal agreement for the Scott Avenue Bridge replacement. Basically, what this would allow us to do is to access federal money while the state of New Hampshire and Maine do the Memorial Bridge. We do own a small bridge called the Scott Avenue Bridge, and if we enter into this agreement, we basically allow the state to manage the project along with their Memorial Bridge project. We get to tap into the 80% federal funding to correct our bridge, Scott Avenue Bridge, and we would have a 20% match. We will be following this very closely. We will be requesting numerous public information sessions and public hearings on the matter.
Very good. Assistant Mayor?
Move to authorize the city manager to execute the municipal agreement for the Scott Avenue Bridge replacement project as recommended.
Second. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I ask the city manager a question? May I?
Yes, John.
John, the 2 to 3 parking spaces underneath the bridge for the parking attendants, now would that fall in the category of the Scott Avenue Bridge area?
Yes.
It's going to be, depending on the reconstruction of the bridge, those spaces might go away.
You know, this is very important, that the attendants have some place to park. It's always been a problem, and there's nothing in the agreement that states that these parking spaces must be maintained.
But, Councilor, I might add that I'm not representing the state in this matter. I'm representing the city of Portsmouth.
I know.
So if they felt that they needed those, they certainly should have
we should provide, I think, in a sense.
We have,
I know we have,
but I wouldn't do that to the detriment of replacing the Scott Avenue Bridge. I represent the city.
All right. Just the idea, I was wondering, if there's nothing in writing, and the bridge, and the Scott Avenue Bridge, and the Memorial Bridge is revamped, and they do away with those 2 parking or 3 parking spaces underneath, we're providing a...
Madam Mayor, there's nothing in writing now. They come to traffic and safety, we give them the spots. The city council approves the traffic and safety action, and they get their spots. I mean, we've already done that.
We've always had.
Been there, done that.
Yes.
I just want to make sure it continues, that's all.
Debbie, did you have your hand up?
No, I just got it on my head.
Oh. That's where I need mine. Bill?
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could, I'd like to ask the city manager if there's any, I know it's kind of in the early stages of what kind of a cost this is going to be for that, just for that part of the bridge right there.
It would be too early to tell, but let me put it this way. By virtue of entering into this agreement, we're only paying 20% rather than 100%. So,
exactly. No, I'm not disputing the contract.
So it will be, I can't even guess as to what the Scott Avenue Bridge will be, or the Memorial Bridge, but certainly it's our responsibility. So we have 13 bridges in the city. This is one of them, and to be able to get almost 80% funding, I just thought it was something we go after now.
I'm not disputing that.
I don't have a number.
It needs to be done. I've been under that bridge, and it really definitely has to be done. So
I don't have a number.
Just questioning it.
But when we do, certainly that's a good question. People will know it'll be in your capital plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a report back regarding a request from Michael and Jackie Bryan requesting permission to hold a New Hampshire Seacoast Run paddle race on Saturday, September 20th, 2003. And as you recall, on July 14th, the City Council tabled this matter until I provided you with a report back on their nonprofit status. The long and short of it is that we've been in contact with Mr. Bryan, and we've asked them to have all checks made payable to New Heights Program or the Children's Community Care Center at the Foundation's campus. That way, all checks would then be given to a nonprofit. So you have to take two actions: one, to remove this from the table, and two, to approve this with power to me with the stipulation that they have all checks made payable to New Heights or to Child Community Care Center.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to move from the table.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Councilor Grasso's next.
Your Honor, I move that to the city manager with power, with the stipulation that the New Hampshire Seacoast Run Puddle have all checks made payable to New Heights Program or the Children's Community Care Center.
Do I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Your Honor, I have one more item that is not listed here, but is something as a result of the City Council's work session. At that work session, the City Council would need, as a result of the work session that we had with the fire department, there is an action of the City Council to request that I bring back for public hearing at the August 18th meeting a supplemental appropriation to the fire department budget in the amount of $128,000 with the appropriate resolutions.
You are so moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brad was the next one.
I move to defer any vote on that until January. I do not wish to make that motion. This is one of I know it's my turn, but I do not want to make that motion.
All right. Then we'll go back to Joanne.
Your Honor, I move that we...
This idea didn't work, Mayor. Back to the old way, Mayor.
I move whatever the city manager stated.
And I second the motion.
Public hearing for August 18th.
Very good. Roll call, please. I did get a second, didn't I?
I second it.
Okay. Very good.
What was the motion, Your Honor?
Your Honor, I might, if I might paraphrase, well, actually, that the motion would be to authorize the city manager to bring back for public hearing a proposed supplemental appropriation of the fire department in the amount of $128,000 for fiscal 04 budget.
Thank you.
Very good.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Yes.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes.
Councilor Lown?
No.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Panalakis?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
No.
Councilor Marconi?
Yes.
Councilor St. Laurent?
No.
And Mayor Sarab?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm on to informational items, and I have two informational items. Basically, the first one is a report back regarding Coast Trolley, and that's self-explanatory. We're going to deal with the issue as requested to have demand-activated service. The other items, unless there are any questions, done.
Did anyone have any questions to ask John about Section 106, Portsmouth Armory JFK building? You got a written thing on it, so it explained it very clearly. Okay, then. Anyone else have anything to ask John under informational?
Your Honor?
Yes.
The the motion that we just made, just been passed, 6-3.
Yeah, that was.
Did that need a public, was that part of it, was there a public hearing? I didn't hear about the public hearing. Is that part of the motion?
The
That there would be a public hearing? Okay.
Is for August 18th.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now we're to the mayor then, if no one else says anything. Where am I? I'm here. Designation to appoint a member to the New Hampshire Estuary Project Management Plan Study Commission. And I'm going to ask John to speak to that.
Yes, Your Honor. We're recommending that Peter Rice be the individual be put on this because it deals with some of the outfall for sanitary sewer plants, and Peter is an engineer in our wastewater department that I think would be appropriate for representation on this committee.
Would somebody, Brad, you want to make this one?
Yes,
I'm
I'm safe on this one. I move to place this issue on the agenda on, well, no, actually, I'm not going to move that. I'm going to move to approve the appointment of Peter Rice as a designee to the commission. Did I do all right?
I'll second that.
For a lawyer, you did all right.
Discussion? Everybody happy? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Then we have the consideration of, for the HDC, for John F., all right,
Gollum.
His name, Gollum. And I want you all to look to the bottom of the sheet. There were 15 meetings, and he was absent at none of them. That's just consideration. August 18th, we'll be back to ask for the final vote. The next one is to be voted on, trustee of the trust funds, Eileen Foley. What is your wish, somebody?
Move to put Eileen Foley back on the trustees of trust funds.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to National Night Out, and you all got a list of it. We're all invited to participate in Portsmouth's National Night Out event on tomorrow evening. And there's 13 neighborhoods that will be participating this year. And the list of the neighborhoods is on the back of your sheet. What I usually like to do is get a handle on where some of you counselors are going. Then that way we can kind of break them up, you know. It's pretty hard to get to all of them, you know. So it would be nice if you could, you know, get with me. I know Harold goes to the South End, and you've got a special invitation from the Friends of the South End, from Barbara White, and they're going to be having a picnic at Four Tree Island the same night, and you're all invited. Harold?
If this will help you, Your Honor, I've got mine circled. I got 4 locations, and therefore the ones who are not circled, maybe you can delegate some other councilors to go.
Okay, what are the 4?
Here they are.
Oh, thank you, Harold. Nice. Thank
Hold on,
you.
don't
Is there a rain date, Madam Mayor?
Don't be too nice to me, Your Honor.
No rain date.
Okay.
No.
Well, I know a number of them
They
have
have,
had tents, so.
Yeah. Yes, Councilor Grasso?
Your Honor, last year I tried to get around to a few of them, and I went to the South End one at 7:45, and they were all packed up
Yeah.
and gone.
They do it early.
We start at 5 o'clock, we start.
But it says to 8:30, so I thought I could see somebody there, but they weren't.
Harold goes to bed early, so.
I've missed them every year too, Joanne. So if you give me a handle on what you're going to be doing, what neighborhood you're going to be hitting.
Planning my campaign tomorrow. I'm going to try.
That's fine, just get back with me tomorrow,
okay.
so I have an idea.
Okay.
John, what about you?
I intend to cover as many as possible,
Okay.
probably starting with the one that has the band and a lot of excitement.
I hope they
That'll
have
be
it
next
for
to
the
the
rain.
senior citizen building.
Brad?
I'm going to take my family to Portrait.
Okay, very good. Bill, I know where you're going to be for lunch.
Not necessarily, Your Honor.
Oh.
I tried to get to all of them, but last year I found out for the first time how impossible it is.
You can't do it.
I mean, unless you want to spend 3 minutes at each one.
That's-
You can't do that.
that's-
So I think your idea is good, Your Honor, that, like, I won't go to the ones that I went to last year. I'll go to
Yeah.
the other ones this year. So that way I can cycle these through it and get to meet a lot of people. So that was my plan, but if you still need it, Your Honor, I'll be glad to give you mine.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Tomorrow I'll be in my office.
No campaign material can be handed out now. You're the only declared candidate.
What?
No political when it comes to the
Oh,
neighborhood.
son of a
They're not political. Okay, so anyways, that takes care of that. Alec is going to be taking me, and also the chairperson of the citywide neighborhood, Paula Glenn. Then we have, let's see, we have a nice thank you from Foster's. They celebrated their 130th anniversary on June 18th, and I did send them up a nice proclamation, and this was a thank you from them. Let's see. Now, I have just one letter that came in late, and I hate to do this to John, but relax, John. Don't get all upset now. It's from Marty Cameron. And, of course, he's working on trying to organize the Ocean Road, Maple Haven, you're cheating, Maple Haven Neighborhood Association. Now, I realize it's year 2006 that the city has put $150,000 for the Maple Haven Park.
No, that's not correct, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
No.
How much are they going to get?
The $150,000 is over a period of 5 years, and that can be for multiple parts. That's the total. I think we set aside for Maple Haven, I don't have my capital plan in front of me, but probably, it's $25,000 or $50,000. Typically, just like with Sherburne, we ask the neighborhoods try to raise some money.
Right.
And if they have shortfalls, then we try to make that up. But we started off with, if I had my capital plan in front of me, I could tell you exactly what we set aside for
I think
fiscal
you're
year.
right, 25,000.
Right.
They were figuring it out to the year 2006.
Well, Marty assumed he was getting all the money. But in fact, Cindy Hayden's there as we speak, talking to the neighborhood association to clarify this
right.
issue.
And hopefully, some of these things will be brought up, like general safety of the kiddos that are going into the playground. They need signs down there that the closed to anyone, to everyone after dark, after 10 p.m., because you get quite a crowd of...
After dark.
Yes, after dark. Presently, there's no lighting whatsoever around the park entrance and adjoining the boundaries. Vehicles park in there at night with no drinking and different other things. There's a lot of brush and weeds down there. I think last year you cleaned that out because it was pretty rough, to open up that thing. And that's about it. And there's a couple teeter-totter. It's a broken spring. So what the neighborhood would like is, if it can't be fixed, then dismantle it.
Right, and that's why Cindy's out there tonight to talk about seeing those issues that he's brought to various people.
And jagged edges on different equipment.
Yeah, we always do a risk management.
All right. And there are traffic and safety items that he's going to bring to the Traffic and Safety Committee, who is Assistant Mayor. But that's the story.
Well, Your Honor, I think that's why we're planning this. I think that's as a result of those concerns.
Well, they've got quite a few. Of course, they've been a long time down there.
Can I get a copy of that letter?
Oh, yeah.
You share that with me?
I just got it today in my mail, so. Okay, so what else do I have? That's all I've got, and now we're down to...
Do you two talk?
Huh?
Do you two talk?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mayor now?
Okay.
He talks.
But I
listen.
just didn't have a chance to get him that letter. Okay, so now we're down to Councilor Pandalakis, and it's in your court, Councilor.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I would like to make the motion to take $30,000 of the UDAG fund to perambulate, if I'm saying it right, the boundary lines of the Portsmouth, city of Portsmouth. If I get a
I'll
second.
second the motion.
Thank you. Could I speak to my motion?
Certainly may, go right ahead. Did I get a second? No,
Yes,
second.
every second, yeah. I hope I can convince every member of this council to vote to have this perambulation done. I believe we owe it to every citizen in this city. I would like to give you a few of the reasons why I believe this should be done and why I became so interested in this issue. New Hampshire was divided into counties in 1769. It was confirmed in December of 1770. In the King's decree, it says all islands in the Piscataqua River are in Rockingham County. Maine did not become a state until 1820. 2 man-made bridges connect the islands to the river. A perambulation was never done for either court case in 1979 or 1999. The compact that was made between the governor of Maine and New Hampshire was never ratified by the New Hampshire legislature. The compact was never sent to Congress to be ratified. Congress is the only one that can change a boundary line. The compact between the two governors was a lateral line in the mouth of the river to settle a lobster dispute. It had nothing to do with the islands. I believe if the city of Portsmouth had perambulated their boundary lines and found the island to be the city of Portsmouth property, the court cases would have been handled differently. So I guess what I'm saying is nothing ventured, nothing gained. For $30,000, we can do our lines, and I believe it's time we did it. Then we can take this issue to the new boundary commission at the state level, which was put into effect in this past legislature.
Thank you. Discussion, Councilor Hines.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this is long overdue for a number of reasons. However, to add a little humor to the situation, we'll be walking on water to perambulate part of this. However, most of us know that the people currently working in the Navy Yard are paying taxes to the state of Maine. If your spouse is working in the state of New Hampshire, you're paying taxes to the state of Maine. That is a situation that needs correction, and certainly not the main reason for perambulating the boundaries and restoring to New Hampshire what is rightfully theirs. So I would recommend that we do support the funding for the perambulation, but recognizing that the Economic Development Commission and the Council has voted not to violate the 25% interest from the UDAG funds. I don't know that this would be a judicious move. However, the city manager in his well-managed money operations probably could find a way to do the funding without violating either the UDAG funding method or any other part of the rules that we currently have to govern funding of these types of matters. So I would move, along with Councilor Panalakis, to ask that we do support this and send it to the city manager with power to discover the more appropriate way of funding.
Brad?
I have three quick questions, if I could, direct them to the city attorney. The first one is, do we need to waive this policy as a precondition to the motion, waive the UDAG percentage cap prior to voting on the motion?
Yes, I think you do.
Okay, and so we can do that in a minute. Second question is, doesn't state law require the perambulation every few years, and aren't we in violation of that anyway?
I think the answer to both is yes, state law does require it, and we have not done it.
And then one other question, this is a little harder. About 2 years ago, I read the U.S. Supreme Court decision that addressed the issue brought before it by the two states. And would you say that decision is not res judicata on the issue of where the shipyard is located?
I'm afraid that it is. I read the opinion as well, and we actually participated with the Attorney General's office in the case. I'm afraid that it is an extremely uphill battle to try to overcome the effect of that decision.
To revisit that in some court, you mean? Okay, but it's not impossible.
I suppose nothing's impossible.
Thank you.
Harold?
Yes, Your Honor. There's no doubt in my mind that we should be revisiting this boundary issue just one more time. I don't think that the highest court in the nation gave this a complete look-see type venture, and I couldn't believe it coming out of the United States Supreme Court without going over all the documented material that they had. The only thing I question is the $30,000 from UDAG. Now, I'd like to ask my city manager, will this be coming from the $86,000 that was earmarked for the 03-04 budget?
If you review the memorandum, what I stated in it was that because the EDC had already appropriated their $86,000, that in order to appropriate an additional $30,000, you would have to waive your own policy.
You mean the percentage of interest you'd be using?
75% is the maximum, but you would just waive that policy and use $30,000 in addition to the $86,000.
Okay. Now, John, I know that this was quite a discussion at the, I think, May or June meeting of the EDC, and they had an estimate of interest earned was given to the EDC of about $110,000 of interest on the money. Is that true?
Approximately. I don't have that in front of me, but that sounds...
So we would have to waiver the 75% of interest used to what figure?
Well, it would be just to waive the policy.
Waive the policy, okay.
To be able to set aside $30,000 from UDAG for use for preambulation.
And John, this wouldn't have to go back to the EDC for approval?
No, you're the ultimate authority.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Marconi?
Well, there seems to be a whole array of reasoning why we should be doing this preambulation. I don't agree with all of the opinions that have been put forth tonight because I feel that it's necessary that we do this, not for a particular reason. I think probably to define the boundaries is an absolute must, no matter when you do it. But it should be done. We're supposed to be doing it every 7 years, and I don't know if you were on the council when we did it many, many years ago, Your Honor, but I know I walked the whole Rye line.
Right.
And it was fun, but it was too long. But I do want to say a couple of things, seeing as where everyone has given their opinion. I want to give mine. Number one, if the state of New Hampshire had gone into court on the spousal tax and not on where the shipyard is located, we probably would have won that. That's number one. Number two, my husband was a boundary commissioner. And at that time, Governor Thompson strongly recommended that we not get into court on this issue, only on the spousal issue, the spousal tax issue, not the boundary issue, because we wouldn't succeed if we went in on the boundary. And my other opinion is a federal installation, Your Honor, is not in any state. It's a federal installation. It has, no state has a jurisdiction over it any more than we had any jurisdiction over Keys. We couldn't even make them abide by the Boca Code to build the houses out there. And that is a federal installation. All of the hopscotching around and the tap dancing that's going on about where the shipyard is ridiculous, because it is a federal installation, period. And I wish everybody would please remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing I'd like better to see that the people in New Hampshire not pay those taxes to the state of Maine. But with this preambulation, and I guess maybe this might be directed to the city attorney, Your Honor, the powers to be that does this, that does the preambulation, what kind of authority and who is the company that would be hired that would give us the authority to use this? I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but I mean, if we do a preambulation, are they just going to say, well, yeah, well, that's fine, that's their decision? But I guess, is it a high enough authority that we're going to have to be able to use this to the Supreme Court or to the powers to be? I guess that's my question.
What the term perambulate actually means is that officials from the respective towns together identify the boundary, walk the boundary. That's literally what it means. This is probably not going to be a great difficulty with Newington and Greenland. It may be a problem with the town of Kittery. But I think that I know that the manager's thinking was that even if the actual perambulation cannot occur with Kittery, that the boundary would be surveyed, and we would establish our best position as to where the boundary is located. Where you go with that is a question very much open to debate. There may be nowhere, in fact.
But we still have to do it. Okay.
There's a chance.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Assistant Mayor, and then Councilor Grasso.
If Councilor Pantelakis could share, wouldn't we give this material to the new state boundary commission, and then wouldn't the state be fighting the battle?
Yes, they would.
But this is the kind of information that we would turn over under that new...
Under the new commission.
Right, which we didn't have before. And I think I agreed with the city attorney. I didn't want to fight this battle by ourselves.
Right.
With the state legislature passing that legislation, it seems to me that we could do the survey, give our results to the state, and let it go from there. But I guess I do, the follow-up question I have now, the city managers, are we invading the principle, or just is it still in the interest?
The interest.
Interest only? Okay.
Councilor Grasso?
Thank you. The assistant mayor brought up the point that I wanted to make, which was about the state commission, and I didn't know if Laura had any other information about that commission and why it was formed exactly, because that's something that we didn't have in existence before.
I think Councilor Grasso's reason that the bill passed to be formed was there was many people that have been studying this through the years, and they feel as though that this issue should be addressed. And so the commission was set up, and its duties are to examine the boundary between New Hampshire and Maine with particular focus on the Piscataqua River boundary, consider recent geographical surveys of the area, determine the controlling legal authority on which to decide the Piscataqua River boundary, including consideration of the Supreme Court's decision, New Hampshire v. Maine 532, provide recommendations regarding the perambulation of the boundary as required under RSA 1, and solicit such information and testimony as the commission deems necessary in performance of their duties.
Thank you. Your Honor?
Yes.
The one thing that bothers me is having to take the money from UDAC. So I'd like to ask the city manager, if we vote this, if this were to pass tonight, and there were some other funding that became available that could be used, is that something that we could do?
I don't really,
Well, I'm just wondering if we pass this tonight using the UDAD money, but if you, in the course of while we're doing this, if there was other monies available, would it be possible to do that and leave the UDAD alone?
I suppose you could say up to $30,000 from UDAG, and then give me the leeway if I find some other grant or some other funding source. This year's budget's pretty tight.
Yeah, I know.
Unless I take some from the fire department overtime. It's a joke.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Can we take it out of the library fund?
Oh, boy.
No, that's that's capital money. That's capital.
We had talked too about contingency.
That's true.
The assistant mayor has the chair and recognizes the mayor.
We had talked about this before, and we had said 15,000 out of UDAG and 15,000 out of contingency. But I'm going to be truthful with you all. Evelyn and I did walk it. Well, I'm not going to be able to walk it this time. But it is badly needed, and I don't blame the people. I had a son that was against the same thing. I mean, he had to pay and pay and pay. So I think it's time. I mean, hey, we're nitpicking here tonight. Let's get on with it and see what happens. And as I say, I still got that picture upstairs from a young couple or an older couple from England. And I'd love to have you come up and look at it.
Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, it wasn't until this weekend that I decided how I was going to vote on this issue. And I've been involved with the spousal tax for almost 15 years on that yard. But there was another issue that was bothering me, and after doing some research and some phone calling, I found out that it really didn't matter, and that is the BRAC Commission. Back in the BRAC Commission, for the you councilors that don't know what it stands for, stands Base Realignment and Closing Commission. Now, back in 93 and 95, I was wondering if the boundary issue had a bearing on what the commission looked at. Did they use this issue in their formula for reducing or cutting back in the base issues and base closures? So after a few phone calls, I found out that even though there's going to be another BRAC commission established in the year 2004, and they'll be making their report to the Congress in 2005, this boundary issue will not be a problem, or will not be an issue when they make their final decisions. And I only found this out over the weekend, so that's why I'm still going to support the $30,000 being spent for this type of boundary step-off.
Councilor Lown.
Could I offer an amendment to Laura's motion that we just waive the policy capping the UDAG interest at 75%? I don't believe that's been done yet, but I think we have to do it, and I would offer that as an amendment.
Did you want to include the up to, or is that a friendly amendment with you, the up to 30,000 in case he finds grant money?
I didn't say that, Alan.
Who's the motion?
I made the motion of 30,000, but
okay.
do you want to say
okay,
up to?
Up to?
Yeah.
Okay. Who seconded?
Second the amendment.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just change the wording on the motion to up to. And now we have the amendment. And the amendment, are you clear on the amendment? No.
The amendment is to waive the city council policy capping the UDAG annual interest at 75% for the previous year.
For this single item?
For this single item, yes.
How do you want to handle that, Bob? Is that an appropriate amendment to this motion?
As long as it's clearly understood by everyone what it means.
Okay.
Do you need a second on that?
I'll second it, but...
Okay, so what we're doing now is just the amendment. The UDAG policy says that any interest earned, you can only of those funds that are the principal, you can only spend 75% of the interest. And we've had that for 3 or 4 years now. And so the fund wouldn't disappear. And it would continue to grow. In this case, you're exceeding that. You're dipping into the interest only. You're not dipping into the principal, the city manager tells me. So this is a one-shot deal. So that's what you're being asked to waive as part of Councilor Lowndes' amendment. Everybody clear on that? Councilor Hines.
Thank you. A question for the city manager.
Okay. John.
John, if it were not necessarily to violate the 75% ruling on the interest, would you be able to come up with the money in any other fund?
Well, the only other place that I would recommend you take it from is contingency. They're really, if you recall, we've entered in a fiscal year where most of the budgets have had no growth over the previous fiscal year. So we're very tight in many of the budgets. So the only place that I do have money that I could say right now in the first month of the fiscal year is either the UDAG or contingency. So what I would suggest is that you give me the authorization to use up to a certain amount. And going back to the assistant mayor's question, I think we're going to be pretty close on that amount. So I have to check those numbers again just to make sure. But with the understanding that if I have to, use some of the contingency, I would make that available and use some of the contingency as well.
Well, then my question, you have answered the question. I would ask the council to reduce the amendments to authorizing the city manager to use his best judgment in coming up with the money.
Councilor St. Laurent.
Thank you. A question to the city manager. Again. Are you comfortable with this, John? Does this eat up most of the percentage then on the UDAG? Is that?
I mean, the UDAG money we wouldn't be able to go into it for anything else this year. I mean, we'd be done until we earn more interest.
So if anything came up that might be an emergency situation?
Well, typically, any emergency situation would be out of contingency. To be honest with you, 50% out of UDAG and 50% out of contingency would work just as well. I mean, you take $15,000 out of UDAG and $15,000 out of contingency, and it still use the up to $30,000 mark.
But aren't we in kind of an early stage of the budget to be taking anything out of contingency right now? I mean, we don't, we know what the future holds right here, and we're really early in the new budget. So. That's why I think the UDAG money was being proposed at this early stage. And you're comfortable with that? Somewhat comfortable with that. I mean, if you ask me, it's going to be close on how much we have to use. So what I would suggest is that you give me the up to $30,000, and if let's say it's $28,000 we can use because the interest is only $28,000. Okay. Then I'll use that, and I'll come back and say I need a couple $1,000s for contingency. That's what I needed to know, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, the first thing we're going to vote on is the amendment, which waives the 75% rule.
Excuse me, could I hear what the amendment is again, please?
Deputy City Clerk.
The motion.
I can't hear you.
I know, I'm trying to find it first.
I can't hear very well.
Want me to restate it? You got it? He's got it.
He's got it.
It's to, the motion is to waive the city council policy capping the 75% interest for this item.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you ready for the vote?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're voting on the main motion. Are you ready for the question? Any further discussion? Roll call. The mayor has another statement. Mayor?
We wouldn't be here tonight doing this. It's Maine that is so greedy for all of this money, and that's the way I felt over the years.
Roll call, please. And we had a roll call.
State of New Hampshire should have gone into the court with a smarter move.
Okay, the deputy city clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
A most definite yes.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes.
Councilor Lown?
Yes.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Panalakis?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes.
Councilor Marconi?
Yes.
Councilor St. Laurent?
Yes.
And Assistant Mayor Hanson.
Yes. Passes unanimous. I'm going to turn the gavel back over to the mayor.
Okay, we're down to Councilor Whitehouse. Councilor Whitehouse, you're going to speak about
Yes,
the pedestrian pilot program.
Yes, Your Honor, I took it upon myself to get downtown on the 12th of July, and I was down there from 7 to about 10:30, just reviewing what was going on the Market Street closure. And if you can remember back in April, we was given by the Downtown Merchants Association a list of goals. There were 6 goals that they were hoping to obtain. And I'm not going to go into detail and read all the goals, but one of them was to make downtown more pedestrian friendly. Number 2 was so retail shops would stay open much later at night. Number 3 would provide street vendors and performers outdoors. Number 4 was promote a walking downtown. Instead of driving through, they'd be walking through. And number 5 was to, in other words, to make downtown a community living room. And number 6 was to enchant downtown as Main Street. So I took those goals and I made brief comments how I felt about it. You know, the first one, pedestrian friendly. I noticed anywhere from 350 to 400 people gathered on Market Street, a lot of families and children. They was watching the entertainment, socializing, enjoying nightlife, and it was a very cordial event. Number 2, in reference to shops remaining open, I counted 8 shops that were closed on Market Street. So that wasn't a goal that was, that was a very positive. And these shops were boutique shops, gift shops, jewelry shops, and they could have done some business that evening. And, that's the only thing one of the things I found wrong. And then also, I did notice a large crowd, and if they're talking about a place to walk through instead of driving through, there was some people, many people, but there was some traffic backup on Daniel Street. At one time, it was backed up to the Memorial Bridge. On Market Street, it was backed up down Market Street because they didn't know exactly where to go. They'd have to turn left onto Bow. So anyway, my recommendations, and you can take them for whatever they're worth. I don't expect my fellow councilors to support these, but I would recommend that if the Downtown Business Associates supports the cost of police coverage and et cetera, they do this once or twice a year. They got to revise the traffic pattern, so not to have backup on Daniel Street and lower end of Market Street. And they've got to create an incentive for the stores on Market Street, if they're going to do Market Street again, to stay open, because they would have done some business. And they've got to listen also to the concerns of Upper Congress Street, Lower State Street, Bow Street, and Daniel Street. They're important too, not just Market Street. So that's just a little homework I did, and I hope you appreciate me.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilor.
I wanted to thank Councilman Whitehouse for the report because I think it's very interesting, and I think he's done a good job of bringing the facts and the problems together.
All I've got to say is, Ruth, his wife, never sees him.
Don't say that, Mayor.
Do we?
I'm sorry, I got a bad ear, and it's this one.
It was just
Don't
a
repeat
little
it.
pun.
Oh, well, I like the puns.
A what?
Yes,
Bill.
thank you. I'd just like to know why the shops, has anybody looked into why the shops closed, Councilman Whitehouse?
Yes, I did. Yes, I'd rather not say.
Okay, no, but I'm just saying, I hope that was
you know, some of them felt they wouldn't be doing the business. Entertainment on Congress Day. It's like Market Square Day. You know, a lot of shops close because there's so many people, they don't venture into the shops. So.
Any miscellaneous and unfinished business?
Your Honor,
Yes.
would, we received a nice letter from the Department of the Navy about the USS Portsmouth, and I would ask on behalf of the council that you send them a letter acknowledging their letter, and that
I did. That's what
Oh, you did
the proclamation, and then I sent a nice letter with that.
Oh, wonderful.
Very careful there now, because what they're asking for is to host. And I can't go through another Albuquerque. I never worked so hard in all my life.
No, they're in San Diego.
Yeah, but they're talking about coming here. Yeah. So, yeah. So be careful unless somebody
Thank you.
wants to do it.
No, thank you.
A motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all. August 18th. Thank you all. You're quite welcome, Nancy Gabel.
How do you do it?